Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. Come to live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Bernadine Chai-Singha. Let's now take a look at headlines.
Leopard mauls man to death in the Kumana Park. One person in critical condition. Audit report claims 180 types of substandard medical drugs brought into the country between 2014 and 2016. Drug smuggling operation at the Kolonava Urban Council building. Opposition leaders' invitation to non-cabinet minister Radhakrishnan. Rupee appreciates by 4.6% against the dollar.
කොටිය කන්න පුළුවන් මේ බෙල්ල ගාන තමයි අල්ලගෙන හිටියේ මේ හරිය. අල්ලගෙන මේ මෙහෙම මතු වුණා දෙන්න. මතු වුණාන් පස්සේ අපි කෑ ගහුවා අපි.
That was how a labourer working along a road at the Kumana National Park was mauled and killed by a leopard yesterday. Another person who was injured in the attack is currently being treated at the intensive care unit of the Ampara Hospital. Director General of Wildlife said that the zone in which the attack occurred has been cordoned off.
A road in Bagure at the Kumana National Park is currently under construction. 4 labourers had come to work in this area last afternoon. The labourers were then attacked by a leopard.
3 of us were in front, 2 were seated at the back. He was wearing a red-coloured t-shirt. We then heard a noise. When we looked back, we saw the leopard. The leopard stood on 2 legs and grabbed him by the neck and took him away. We hit it with a shovel and tried to save him, but we couldn't. The leopard jumped on him and grabbed him by the neck. When that happened, all of us screamed. Although we shouted, it did not leave.
Officers from the Ampara Wildlife Office began a search operation to locate the man taken away by the leopard. The officers were travelling in a private vehicle. The driver of the private vehicle was also attacked by the leopard during the search operation. After wildlife officers had chased away the animal, the body of the man taken away by the leopard was discovered.
We searched for him in the forest, but we couldn't find him. The wildlife officers came in a safari vehicle. Later they were able to find the body. They asked us to move aside and then we came here. The safari driver had gone there to take photographs. Then there was a loud noise. We heard gunshots as well. After a while the safari driver was taken to hospital.
The driver who was attacked by the animal was admitted to the Ampara General Hospital. An official at the Ampara Hospital confirmed that he is in a critical situation. The body of the deceased labourer had been taken out of the park only 5 hours after the initial attack. The victim who lost his life in the leopard attack was a 45-year-old Selladure Ravichandran, a resident of Tirukovil. He is a father of 4.
எங்களுக்கு கஷ்டம் எங்கள்மா நாங்கள் இனி என்ன செய்ய போகிறோன்னு தெரியாது. இந்த குடிசையில் தான் இருக்கிறோம். இத்தனை பிள்ளைங்க இருக்குது. என்ன செய்யறதுன்னு தெரியாது. எப்படி வாழ்கிறேன்னு கூட தெரியலை. அவர் இப்படி இந்த நிலைமை ஆயிடுச்சு நாங்கள் நினைக்கல அவருக்கு.
What was the reason for the aggressive behavior of the leopard? We inquired on the matter from wildlife veterinarian Nihal Pushpakumara.
If the animal had attacked one out of a group, even after having already attacked and captured one human before, this means that there is a change in the behavioral pattern of the animal. Sometimes the animal might be encouraged to hunt humans, or it could be a change in the animal's behavioral pattern. The Wildlife Department is responsible for the oversight of the contractors who work here. We deploy officers to oversee these areas, especially areas where elephants usually roam and high-risk zones. The area in question is about 7 kilometers from the park and it is not an area where wild elephants roam or an area with a high risk.
Wildlife Director General Chandana Surya Bandara said that there is no legal obligation for wildlife officers to be deployed for the protection of labourers working on development projects inside a forest. He added that renovation of roads are constantly conducted in these areas and that wildlife officers have been assigned to oversee them whenever possible. The Director General stressed that it is the prime duty of wildlife officers to ensure the safety of tourists who went to the park and added that there were many tourists at the park when the incident occurred yesterday. A private vehicle was used to conduct the search operations as 2 of the 3 vehicles at the Ampara Wildlife Office located close to the park had broken down. The remaining vehicle had been sent to another location on official business. The Director General said that the leopard is safe and will be closely monitored. A decision on any further action regarding the incident will be taken afterwards.
The police raided a room in the Kulunava Urban Council which was being used for a drug distribution network. Investigations are underway to search for 2 suspects who fled the scene during the raid.
The raid took place based on a tip-off received by the Bellampitia police on the 13th of this month. 3 individuals who were in possession of 10 grams of ganja have been apprehended. When the raid took place, an electrician named Nihal Gunasekara, who occupied the room, had fled the scene. Police stated that subsequently 3.375 kilograms of ganja, 39 grams of ice, an electronic scale and 77,620 rupees was seized. Police suspect that the suspects used this room as a drug distribution center. 2 suspects, both aged 23 and a 19-year-old teenager, were apprehended in this regard. Police added that among the suspects was an employee of the Urban Council, while the rest were outsiders. The suspects have been remanded until the 26th of this month after being produced before the Colombo magistrate on the 14th of this month. When inquired, the chairman of the Colonava Urban Council, Guttila Silva, stated that the suspect, identified as an employee of the Urban Council, was dismissed from employment a few months ago. However, during the police raid, the suspect had claimed that he was presently employed at the Urban Council. The administrator also took steps to suspend the employment of the 2 security guards who were on guard during the incident and a suspicious electrician.
For the past 6 years, we were aware that the drug-related activities were taking place inside the Urban Council. We came into power a year ago and we wanted to put a stop to it. However, we failed to do so. One of our MPs had even received death threats. Even the police was informed in this regard. We learned of such operations during the past 6 to 7 months, and the matter was discussed during council sessions as well. 14 CCTV cameras have been installed. However, I am not aware whether they are currently in operation. We also propose the security operations at the Urban Council be handed over to the civil security forces. However, due to unknown reasons, such proposals were never implemented. Certain councillors received threats as well. This matter could have been managed, but had elevated due to delay in addressing the problem. We must be happy that the drug menace is being eradicated with the President's intervention. The present situation has been exposed due to the effectiveness of the Bellampitia police.
The police stated that the raid took place after a tip-off received by the officer in charge of the Bellampitia police. The police added that they were not previously informed in this regard. Such statements indicate that regardless of political representation, all officers were aware of the drug distribution network operating in the Colonava Urban Council. Widespread public opinions echoed the sentiment that drug racketeering should be punished by law. The imposition of the capital punishment is also being spoken about heavily. The public continues to reiterate the fact that stern action should be taken against drug racketeers. It is abundantly clear that if this is not done, the country and our future generation will be at grave risk.
The suspect was arrested today with 1.037 grams of heroin in Dikkovita, Vattala.
Police officers attached to the Vattala Police Division raided a house located in Dikkovita, Vattala around 2:30 p.m. today. The suspect was apprehended while trying to escape with a stock of heroin. Police stated that the suspect was a 35-year-old individual. Meanwhile, 3 kilograms of heroin was seized in a garage in Kurunduga, Hatakma. Police media spokesman SP Ruan Gunasekara stated that the narcotic substances were seized during a raid conducted by the officers attached to the Police Narcotics Bureau. No suspects have been arrested so far. Police media spokesperson added that the 3 kilograms of heroin worth 36 million rupees was stored with the intention of being resold to a third party.
The Auditor General's report has uncovered irregularities at the Ministry of Health in 2015 and 16.
The report has highlighted many irregularities that occurred at the Medical Supplies Division of the Ministry of Health. Incidents where medical drugs were disposed as they are unsuitable for human consumption or harmful to the patients had been reported in the past. During the period between 2014 and 2016 alone, 180 such medical drugs had been disposed. 117 of them had been imported from India, while 10 were imported from Pakistan and 8 were imported from Bangladesh. The most surprising and concerning revelation is the fact that at the time the medicine was deemed unsuitable for human consumption, an amount between 32% to 100% of these stocks of medicine had already been issued to the general public. The report states that these medical drugs unsuitable for human consumption were issued to patients treated for diabetes, epilepsy and chickenpox. These unsuitable medicine were also given to pregnant mothers. Instead of blacklisting the suppliers who procured substandard medicine, officials had continued to import medical drugs from the very same suppliers. The Auditor General's report states that by failing to purchase adequate medicine in advance and opting for emergency purchases, the loss caused to the state during the past 10 years is 5.1 billion rupees. During emergency purchase of medicine, a pill that could have been purchased for a price of 64 cents from the State Pharmaceutical Corporation had been purchased at an exorbitant price of 64 rupees per pill. An injection that would usually cost 1,058 rupees had been purchased at 19,000 rupees each. The audit report also revealed that hospitals had followed a similar approach when purchasing other medical equipment. A pair of surgical gloves, which could have been purchased for 35 rupees and 26 cents, was purchased by the Castle Street Women's Hospital for 57 rupees and 25 cents. The Auditor General stated that the loss caused by the disposal of unsuitable medicine in 2015 was 234 million rupees, and in 2016, the loss was calculated at 602 million rupees. The Auditor General's reports, released during the past few days, had revealed an array of malpractices at many state institutions. The reports included irregularities during the construction of the Uma Oya project, details of gold being mixed with sand and smuggled overseas, and questionable issues that caused the collapse of the Mithuramulla garbage dump. The general public are well aware of those who line their pockets at the expense of the people through all these scams and malpractices. The general public of this country have to suffer and pay for the sins of corrupt officials and leaders. Should these individuals be allowed to continue looting the country? The time to decide is drawing near.
Despite the Uma Oya multi-purpose development project being financed by the government of Iran, the Sri Lankan government has been compelled to bear approximately 80% of its cost. The development project is currently in its final phase.
In 2008, the Uma Oya Multipurpose Development Project commenced with the assistance of the Export Development Bank of Iran. Accordingly, it was proposed that the government of Iran will bear 85% of the total estimated cost of $514 million of the development project. However, with sanctions imposed on Iran, Farab Energy and Water Project Company, the main contractor in this regard, failed to bear the cost of the Uma Oya project. This resulted in Iran limiting its fund disbursement to $50 million. Accordingly, the government of Sri Lanka was compelled to bear a cost of $464 million for the Uma Oya project. While 95% of the development project has so far been completed, another $71 million is required for the completion of the remaining 5%. The conclusion of construction activities of the project has been delayed by 1 year due to the water leak in the main tunnel.
While excavation was taking place, we found a water leak in the tunnel. Everyone is aware of this. Upon the request made to the Norwegian government by President Sirisena, Norwegian specialists extended their support to us. We modified equipment and continued excavation according to their advice. Excavation is currently taking place according to their instructions.
The Uma Oya Multipurpose Development Project, which is currently in its final phase, will provide several benefits to the public. Among the many benefits is the addition of 120 megawatts of power to the national grid through the underground hydropower plant. In addition, it has been proposed to divert excess water released during the hydropower generation process to the Alikota Ara and Hadapanagala reservoirs and will be supplied to approximately 1,000 acres of paddy fields.
The aim of the Umaya multipurpose development project is to divert excess water from the Uma Oya to the Kirindi Oya. We must remind you that only excess water will be diverted. The main objective of this project is to provide water to locals of Kumbukkana.
The central bank, in its newly released external report, states that during the year up to 18th April 2019, the Sri Lanka rupee appreciated against the US dollar by 4.6%.
At the beginning of this year, the rupee stood at 182 rupees and 91 cents against the US dollar. According to the latest external report issued by the central bank, the exchange rate appreciated to 174 rupees and 66 cents per US dollar by the end of this week. The report further states that the Sri Lankan rupee appreciated against several other foreign currencies as well. Given the cross-currency exchange rate movements, the Sri Lankan rupee appreciated against the sterling pound by 1.8%, Japanese yen by 6.1%, the euro by 5.9%, and the Indian rupee by 3.8% during this period.
Opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa attended the annual chariot festival or the Theru festival of the Sri Muttumari Amman Kovil in Havailiya, Nuwara Eliya.
Non-cabinet minister V. Radhakrishnan and parliamentarian C.B. Ratnayaka were also to be seen at the occasion. Leader of the opposition Mahinda Rajapaksa answered several questions raised by journalists. We have no contradictions in our party. Once we come to a final decision, the winning candidate will be presented. No matter who will compete, the people are intelligent, so they will make the right decision. We are sure of that, because we know the people don't have electricity and water. Now, will you vote when you don't have water during the new year? Take a look at the plantation. They failed to give 1,000 rupees. At our time, we gave the amount they requested. This government failed to do so. What's the use of this government? This is the time for the people to think. The hospital in Nuwara Eliya hasn't been opened. It's been 4 years now since I built it. They can't open it. Same with the Hambantota hospital. We built them. They can't simply add the beds and the equipment and open them. Such a government has been in power for 4 years.
Attending an event in Kadava, the Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation, Arjun Ranatunga, expressed these views.
ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහතා ඉදිරියේ එන ජනාධිපතිනේට එන එම වැලකීම සඳහා කටයුතු කරනවා මේ ආණ්ඩුව.
නෑ මං හිතන්නේ එහෙම දෙයක් කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා.
No, I don't think such a thing should happen. Gotabaya Rajapaksa has a citizenship here and in the US. He carried out a good service during his tenure as Defense Secretary, so if he wants to contest elections, he can. Previously, Mahinda Rajapaksa contested. So now, if any of his younger brothers wants to contest, they can. I think there is no need to make this an issue.
Today is Bak Full Moon Poya Day, which celebrates the second visit of Lord Buddha to Sri Lanka.
This holy day celebrates the second visit of Lord Buddha to Sri Lanka, which took place in the 5th year of his supreme enlightenment, in order to reconcile two local chiefs, Mahodara and Chulodara, uncle and nephew, who had fallen into disagreement and were threatening hostilities over a throne beset with jewels. Mahavamsa also records that Lord Buddha was accompanied by a deity to Sri Lanka. Buddha settled the dispute and the next development of events. Buddhist devotees engage in a number of religious observances to mark several incidents which took place in the Buddhist history on a day like today. Devotees engaged in Pratipatti and Amisa pujas at temples across the country today. A large number of devotees visited the temple of the tooth relic to pay homage to the sacred relics. A puja was also held at the Shakya Malake opposite the MTV-MBC head office premises. The puja was organized by Tough Line Limited of the Capital Maharaja Organization Limited.
Followers of Lord Jesus Christ believe it was on a day like today that Jesus Christ died for the sins of all mankind. Known as Good Friday, Christians the world over participate in church services to mark this most significant day.
According to Catholic tradition, the season of Lent begins on Ash Wednesday and lasts for a period of 40 days. Catholic devotees typically fast and practice abstinence during this holy season. Last Sunday, in memory of the arrival of the Lord Jesus Christ to Jerusalem, Catholics celebrated Palm Sunday, which also marks the beginning of the Holy Week. Yesterday, Maundy Thursday was celebrated to commemorate Jesus Christ's Last Supper with his 12 disciples. The Lord Jesus broke bread and gave it to his disciples along with wine and established the sacrament of Holy Communion. The Lord Jesus also washed the feet of his disciples on this day. Pope Francis washed and kissed the feet of 12 prisoners at a traditional service. Tomorrow, Catholic devotees will celebrate Holy Saturday, and on Sunday, the feast of Easter will be celebrated amid much pomp and pageantry. Devotees in Chilau observe the way of the cross in memory of the sacrificial death and suffering of the Lord Jesus Christ. Services were held at churches across the island today.
From the 13th to the 18th of April, 31 accidents were reported, claiming 42 lives, which the most tragic accident resulting in the death of 10 members of the same family in Mahayangana.
A performance audit by the Auditor General on functions performed by government entities on road safety in Sri Lanka identified a series of road engineering defects that resulted in an increase of road accidents. According to 2015 statistics, 368 road accidents took place in 293 places, as pedestrian crossings were situated nearest to the bus stand intersection. The report adds there were 355 cases where road signs in pedestrian crossings were not clearly indicated, and as such 196 road accidents had taken place. The performance audit revealed 108 road accidents took place in 475 separate occasions, during which electric lamps were inoperative at night. The report also observed that the road network in Sri Lanka has not improved compared to the increase in vehicle registration. While vehicle registration had increased from 3.9 million in 2010 to 7.2 million in 2017, the road network, which is 12,019 kilometers in 2010, had merely increased to 12,220 kilometers in 2017.
Sri Lanka has moved up 5 positions in the World Press Freedom Index released by Reporters Without Borders.
Sri Lanka was ranked 126th out of 180 countries. Last year, Sri Lanka was ranked 131st. Sri Lanka makes the 126th rank with an index score of 39.61. The index has been topped by Norway, followed by Finland, Sweden, the Netherlands, Denmark and Switzerland. Turkmenistan lies at the bottom of the index. Sri Lanka's neighbours, India, were ranked 140th and the United States was ranked 48th. According to Reporters Beyond Borders, the World Press Freedom Index is a snapshot of the media freedom situation based on an evaluation of pluralism, independence of the media, quality of legislative framework, and safety of journalists in each country. The degree of freedom available to journalists in 180 countries is determined by pooling the responses of experts to a questionnaire devised by RSF. The qualitative analysis is combined with quantitative data on abuses and acts of violence against journalists during the period evaluated.
Sri Lanka's first research satellite, Ravana-1, built by two Sri Lankan engineers, successfully reached the International Space Station. Ravana-1 was launched into space last morning. The satellite was launched to the International Space Station from the Space Center in Virginia, USA by the rocket Antras. Ravana-1 was designed by Tharindu Dayaratna, who is an electrical and electronics engineer of the University of Peradeniya, together with Dulani Chamika, who is a graduate of the Asian Technological Institute in Thailand. They built the satellite while studying space engineering at the Kyushu Institute of Technology in Japan. The satellite, which was launched to space at 2:16 a.m. yesterday, reached the International Space Station at around 6:30 this evening. In sports news, it's cricket. Former Sri Lanka cricket captain Arjuna Ranatunga expressed these views on the Sri Lankan squad named for the upcoming World Cup.
මම හිතන අපි මේ වෙලාවේ සංචිතය ගැන කතා කරනවට වඩා තෝරපු ළමයින්ට සුබ පතලා
I think the best thing is rather than commenting on the squad, we should congratulate, motivate and hope that all these players will give their level best to bring honour and glory to the country by winning the championship. On the other hand, many young players have been given the opportunity and I think we have been drawn with almost all teams with test status. So the players should keep their heads cool without letting any pressure. We have to win at least 5 to 6 matches in order to qualify for the semi-final. So within this period, if our players focus themselves only on cricket, we can go a long way. But yet again, I say that the only thing right now is to congratulate the chosen team.
මම නැවතවරක් කියන්නේ ඉතින් තෝරපු කණ්ඩායමට සුබ පතන එක තමයි අපිට කරන් තියෙන්නේ.
With that, we wrap up Prime Time News. I'm Bernadine Jai Singha. Have a good day. Good night. Take care.